good evening, or middle of the night, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the show for people who think left back is what happened to Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone.
Oh, man. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. My position was usually left, right, out.
Left bitch. That was me. I didn't play much association football in high school, but I played American football, and I held down the left side of the bench every week.
There you go.
So I don't think the intro needs too much explanation, and we're here for a Phoenix Rising edition, and my name is Phil Kennedy. As you've already heard in the background, I'm joined by Aaron Ayers and Matt Robards, or should I say Guy Fieri.
Yeah. Oh, God. This is surprisingly Phoenix relevant, isn't it? Like Guy Fieri, for those of you who don't know, he does like a foodie show over here, like I do. It's not as good as mine, but he does a foodie show. He goes around to drivers, dine-ins and dives or something like that. Is that what it's called?
Something like this. I would have just met.
Yeah, I think it's diners, drive-ins, and dives, something like that.
Not drivers. That's the other show I was watching. No, but he goes around and he samples like the best or worst of American cuisine. And you know what? It's actually really enjoyable. But how he became, I guess, a mascot for Phoenix Rising is quite a remarkable story in itself, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, well, I think that all the credit for that really has to go to Edward Cunningham, who is at PHX Rising Nation on Twitter. And, you know, Edward, he's just one of those guys where if you know Edward, he has a sense of humor that it's just a bit out there, but it's also very relatable. And he has kind of I don't know if it's a man crush, if you will, on Guy Fieri. Maybe he just envies the Ed Hardy heavy wardrobe.
No, it's got to be the hair, man.
The hair. So basically, Edward, is always making Guy Fieri related Phoenix Rising posts, and of course, we've been talking about the cardboard cutouts, and Aaron had missed out on the deadline to get in on the last Phoenix Rising game. So I said, you know what, Aaron, I'm going to get you into the stands for the next game. The cutout is on me. What he didn't know is that Edward and I had planned a little surprise, and today we submitted, if you've already seen on Twitter and Facebook, I don't know if it should it be Flavortown Aaron or like I said, Guy Fieri, so something like that. But so it's Aaron in his Phoenix Rising kit with a Guy Fieri pop figurine, kind of watching the game over his shoulder in the classic Guy Fieri Ed Hardy flame shirt.
Yeah, that was something. I'm glad you went with that, honestly, because Edward had gone and submitted a photo, which was the bottom half of my face attached to the top half of Guy Fieri's face. And I've got to say, I'm kind of a little upset that it fits so well. You know what I mean?
That's your Facebook photo for it.
It was. I embraced it. Somewhat ironically, I embraced it. I don't know. I think we should get Guy Fieri on the show. Maybe we could do like divers, head-ins, and I don't know. I'm running out of things here.
Well, what we need to do is we need to get him on to tell us whether or not he likes mushy peas or garden peas, brown sauce or red sauce on his bacon buddy, if he takes black pudding with his full English. And most importantly, if he likes jalapeno peppers on his pepperoni pizza.
I gotta tell you, maybe instead of Guy Fieri, it's a guy named Adam Richmond. I don't know if you've heard of him. but he did a show back in the day called Man versus Food, where he'd go around and do all the food challenges. But he actually has a show on Copa 90, on Copa 90's YouTube channel called Match Day Menus, and he travels around and just tries whatever the town's known for. The one I saw most recently, he was in Morecambe, and he was talking about Morecambe FC and eating pie and their little shrimp dish there. So that would actually be a really cool. Maybe we could reach out to him and see if he'd want to come on, since he is unfortunately, he does support that other team from North London.
Which one's that one?
So, guys, I actually have an impromptu question for both of you guys. So we have a rather eclectic offerings at the Phoenix Rising. What's you guys' other than the dollar beer stand, what's your guys' go-to if you cruise into the stadium and you haven't had dinner yet for the day?
I didn't know they sold food there.
So I will say that me and my wife would really loved the little like Greek food truck that they had for a while, and the name escapes me right now.
Oh, you mean the one with the pitas and the hummus?
The hummus and the pitas.
Good. That is a good one.
I think it might have just been called hummus. Now that I think about it,
you're right. No, it is. It is.
That was awesome. And then for some reason they just stopped showing up. So now we stop at YC's actually on the way in. We leave a little bit early, go to YC's, eat some nice Mongolian grill, and then we roll into the game.
I think that it's not necessarily that they stopped showing up. I think that it's kind of a rotation thing, because I'm absolutely positive that I had one of those pitas at the last game of the regular season last year. But it's kind of like they're there like every other game, and that would be one of my top ones. Primetime Grill, you have to give a shout out to them.
That's nuts, that thing, isn't it? Isn't that freaking nuts? Like it's not a food truck; it's a food semi-trailer. I don't know.
I mean, it really is. It's driven by a semi-truck, and the whole bed, instead of being used for cargo, is full of grills and fryers and prep tables.
It's got TVs.
Yeah, that's what I just say. You got to give them the shout out, because no matter where you grab your food at, if it's halftime, the line was running a little bit long, and the game gets started, you can cruise over to the Primetime Grill, finish up your grub, watch the match on their TVs, and then get back to your seat. And of course, we have to give a shout out to Venezia's Pizza. That's probably my go-to, because you pick up that $5 giant slice. But Venezia's, I have a proposition for you. Once we go back to Phoenix Rising home games, previously you've offered the cheese or the pepperoni. You need to start offering a pepperoni and jalapeno slice at the Phoenix Rising home games. We'll call it like across the pie or something like that. So Venezia's, give us a call.
You know what they need to do again? I don't know if you guys remember this, but like 2 years ago, they had it was a big social media thing. They had 3 players come in, and each player made a pizza, and then fans voted on it. And then, you had the Mala, right? After Luigi Mala. And now that he's gone, I feel like they got to bring in 3 more players, and let's do that again. Let's get another Phoenix Rising signature slice out, maybe Solomon Asante, Santi Moar, and Kevin Lambert. There you go. There's 3 right there.
There you go. I'll have a Lambert pizza. There is one outlet that you've absolutely glossed over here, guys. And I don't know how you've managed to do this, but this guy, he's a staple in Arizona sports, and you know him. You know him. If you've been to any game of any code in Arizona or in Phoenix, you know this guy. He's that guy that goes around lemonade, just like Grandma made. You know the guy I'm talking about?
I know. I've seen him at the Diamondbacks game.
Yeah. He hawks those bits of popcorn and lemonade, and he's got the popcorn and this. Oh shit! What do you call it over here? Fairy floss. What's it called? Fairy floss.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy. Thank you very much. Oh boy, sometimes
I got you. I speak a bit of Australian.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Foster's, right? You get a glass of Foster's.
No.
I thought that was Australian for beer. That's what I was always told on the commercials.
Yeah, the commercials line. Everything you see on TV, man. Come on.
What about the old school Foster's commercial where they say how to speak Australian, and then they say remote control, and then the guy throws a boomerang and hits the guy in the other guy in the back of the head, and he reaches up and changes the TV channel. You guys remember that one?
That's probably
I doubt, man. Yeah.
I'll have to post that on Twitter.
I was going to say about that guy. Apparently, he is like the number one vendor in Arizona. He won some sort of prize a couple of years back. But I tell you what, I don't care how fancy the fare is in the prime rib truck or whatever that thing is, or hummus, or even like they've got like the ice cream scoop. Every time this guy comes past, my daughter is like, I want some fairy floss or whatever it's bloody called. I've forgotten it again over here.
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy. He gets my money every time, that guy. He does a great job. Well done.
I like the cherry lemonade myself. That's a go-to drink right there.
I don't know about you guys, but is it just me, or do we just miss going down to the stadium and watching our team play?
I think so.
That's it, isn't it? Oh, it's so depressing.
Just digress for 10 minutes about the concession stand.
The concession stand. Yep.
So let's talk about our favorite porta potty now.
I tell you what.
Personally, mine's on the southeast end, just underneath the bleachers over there. It's really cool.
On the real, I do miss those those porta potty trailers that they had a couple years ago instead of just the straight porta potties.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how we knew that we were really moving up to that.
I know, right?
Well, speaking of poor park amenities, the Phoenix Rising have one of the best pitches in the USL, and unfortunately, we're going to be playing for the second consecutive week on a field that was reported had to be, quote, painted green for television.
Unbelievable.
At Orange County. Of course, Solomon Asante had some not so nice things to say about the pitch. The commentator throughout the broadcast had kind of commented that maybe some of the little leg injuries that guys seem to be picking up through the match maybe had to do with some unevenness of the pitch. Rick Schultz had said that there was a situation where I guess some fertilizer had burned the field. He kind of said, this is no excuse, but there was fertilizer that burned the field. They couldn't water the field. It had to be painted, by the way. So, what's your guys' take on this?
So here's the thing, man. Both teams had to play on it, but
right, exactly.
I'm sorry, USL. This is ridiculous. If you want people to take this league seriously, if you want this league to be able to compete with the MLS, stuff like this has got to stop happening. I mean, this is stuff, you see in CONCACAF qualifying when the U.S. national team has to go play in South America and has to go down to the Caribbean, where you have these types of fields. This shouldn't be happening here at the second tier, of this sport in this country. And it's the same with teams playing on baseball diamonds, and they have to lay sod over the dirt. And I mean, it's just invest in the thing, man. Look, Phoenix Rising, multiple other clubs, Louisville, has built a stadium. They're taking this seriously. They're putting their best foot forward. Yeah. Our stadium doesn't have plumbing. Our stadium doesn't have permanent fixtures for concessions. A big giant semi truck rolls in and we use shipping containers that have been changed into, bars and things like that. But with all that being said, we have a pitch that's worthy of being played on. I mean, one of the big things, I remember kind of taking a tour of the stadium with one of the ticket reps down there. And he was telling us how, if something happened for the FIFA tournament for the World Cup in 2018. And it just went haywire and there was no place to play, that they could hold the World Cup at our stadium because it met all the FIFA qualifications and standards. Wow. And so it's just like, man, sure, both teams had to play on it. It can't ultimately become an excuse for a poor performance, but at the same time, step up, man. This is their first home game and this is what they're putting out there. I mean, I'm sorry. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Yeah. But the thing about it though is, Matt, that this isn't a ground that's owned by Orange County. This is a community stadium here. So some Burke from the city has just gone along and thought, oh, I don't know, how much fertilizer? We'll double that because it'll make it look green. So, I mean, it's not entirely Orange County's fault, but it is embarrassing. It's exceptionally embarrassing. And remember when I went on my little tour and I went along and I saw quite a number of these community fields. They're another one. So they don't actually control the ground. So they're kind of at the mercy of whatever the city wants to do with it. Not an excuse, honestly. Like Orange County, they've been one of the more solid teams, in the US.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a team that's been around for years now. Yeah. I mean, they're as old as Phoenix Rising. I mean, they've hosted the conference championship game. And here's the thing that I'm looking at is like, how bad was this pitch? Because okay, we have Solomon Asante. Now, Solomon Asante is not a guy who was Man United Academy and grew up playing on the pitch at Old Trafford. He's a guy that came from the Ghana Premier League, and we've talked to Subaru, and he has told us that the facilities over there are not the greatest. So I mean, this is a guy that has played around the world, not only in Ghana, but of course in the U.S. So he's played in a number of different places around the world. And for him to specifically, and this is a guy he's in his third year with the team now. He's never come out on Twitter after a game and blasted the pitch like that before. And we've seen some terrible ones. We specifically commented on Tulsa last year and how they obviously didn't cut their grass. We commented last year on Fresno, who are no longer in business, and how poor their pitch was.
What was the one we said the name to get the iron out for? Was that Oklahoma City? Because you can still see.
Oh yeah, Oklahoma City. Right, yeah, that was one which the folded. You could see the fold lines in the AstroTurf.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful.
You can literally see where they unrolled the field. You can see.
I think Matt's right, though. I mean, it's an embarrassment. Well, that was actually my word, so I'm going to reiterate myself. It's an embarrassment. Matt's right. You're right, Phil. Though, it is the first time that anyone's sort of come out and criticised the pitch. But Rick Shantz, Phoenix Rising coach, kind of shut him down a little bit. And I think that's kind of what Matt was saying as well. It was like, you're playing on the same pitch. Yes, it may not be the velvet green turf of, the land of milk and honey here in Phoenix, but you're still, you've grown up in these freaking arenas. Do you know what I mean? When I was playing games, there was like freaking sods of turf. There wasn't a turf. There was like a bit of tuft over there, and you'd have to dodge around that. I know they're professional players. Yeah, I know that, the pitches should be better than what they are. But my argument is, come on, get stuck in there. My other argument is that, and it's an age-old argument, the referee was shit.
Well, going back to what you were saying about it affecting both teams, I think this is a great pivot to our first listener question. And this is one that I really wanted to direct at Matt. Because it's a tactical question.
I'm not offended.
Matt, so we had put out on Twitter yesterday where we're looking for some Phoenix Rising related questions. And this first one came in from it is at Section 103J or at SEC 103J, the letter J on Twitter. Phoenix Rising season ticket member. Also appears that he's a Liverpool supporter based on the flag here in his profile photo. And he said,
how long has he had that for, just out of curiosity? Has that been there for like, I don't know, 3 weeks or so?
Diehard Liverpool supporter since 2018. They won the Champions League. I was just joking. I don't know that.
I don't know the guy either. Hardcore listener, though.
Hardcore listener, and the very first person to send in a question for us, and also Phoenix Rising season ticket member in section 103. I'm assuming we will have to get him a beer here at the next match when they allow fans. But let's get to his question here. Was OC played a high press and took advantage of balls over the top when the back line was out of position. Badfield doesn't play well to Phoenix Rising's game. Do you see Rick Shantz trying a different formation and approach this weekend?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that's a question we've all been asking, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think one, he kind of nailed it on the head here, is ultimately we got beat with balls over the top a lot. We got burned with their speed, especially guys coming in off the bench. And it looks, once your back line just gets out of sorts a little bit, it kind of provides this place where, the attackers are going to exploit those spaces. And as soon as you have an outside back, a center back, a midfielder who can play that long ball accurately and play it in between, maybe your center backs who aren't even with each other, or, the outside backs who aren't even with their center backs, then it creates this space. And that's what we saw essentially leading to that goal for OC. I don't foresee Coach Shantz going away from the formation. I think you guys would both agree with that.
Yeah.
We play a 4-3-3. That's just what it is. That's what Coach Shantz will always play. And why not? It's been successful for us since he has been named the full-time, permanent head coach. I would expect to see a couple changes. So right off the bat, I think, you look at the center back pairing of AJ Cochran and Corey Whelan. I would say that Joey Farrell played extremely well in that first match of the season, the first match back against LA Galaxy 2. I would expect him maybe to make another start. I've always said that I think Farrell's a better organizer of the defense than Cochran or Whelan. Now you have another issue, right? Because we have Konta out. He picked up the red card. And so that leaves a left back space open. And so who do you play there? Do you play one of our backups? Do you play who's the backup left back? It's Bjornathan, I believe, is the backup left back. So that's another question. Do we play, or do we move our defense around? And this might be something Coach Shantz has thought about. Maybe they've been experimenting with a back three at various times. But I don't think that'll happen. So I think I would like to see AJ Cochran and Joey Farrell at center back. And then, if you don't trust Bjornathan, to start the game at left back in a game on the road, maybe someone like Darnell King can slide over to the left for a match. You put Corey Whelan as a right back where he has played before in his history, or maybe, you kind of adjust things out. I think the other big change we might see is Sam Stanton. I don't think is going to get a start. He did not have a great game. No, he didn't. In the midfield. I would actually say out of the three, he might have been the weakest. And I expect someone like Jose Aguinaga to come in. Him and Baquero had a great partnership last season. And so having them together again in the midfield with Lambert, they played together for a year. They understand how each other work. I think we can see those changes. But other than that, I think we're going to relatively see the same team.
I think you're quite right. Stanley didn't have a great game. When Aguinaga came on, there was a little bit more potency in the midfield, I guess you could say. It was still disjointed as all hell. You know what I mean? Right. It just still didn't look great. But let's go back to this time last year. Well, maybe not this time last year, but this time last year and 3 months ago, we were talking about how miserable the back line looked at times. There seems to be similar sort of faults, maybe a little bit of rustiness there. maybe. I mean,
we were 1-1-1 after 3 games last year.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking maybe there's just that little bit of rustiness in there. I'm with you, Matt. I don't think there's time for wholesale changes, because then you're getting into another whole issue. Hello, Arsenal.
I think that actually the interesting thing is an unrelated question kind of from last week leads us to the answer of this one, because Rick Schantz actually identified exactly what the problem it would end up being. It just didn't involve an Evoldson because he didn't actually end up playing. But what Schantz had said was, our formation, it leaves some space in between the back line and the midfield, and that Evoldson had a way of sliding into that. Well, it seems like it's not just an Evoldson. It seems like that's Orange County's tactic, that they're trying to do that. So the fact that Schantz already, to me, has identified, okay, this is kind of our weakness against Orange County, and hadn't changed the formation going in, tells me that he doesn't think it's we're going to change the formation problem. It's an issue of execution and making sure that whoever's guy to mark that is, if you will, is making the play. And this might be kind of an issue of maybe some guys cheating up a little bit too far and not staying at home on defense more than a formation issue.
Well, I think too, that's where Farrell gives you a little bit more of an advantage. If you're identifying that this is the problem, a guy like Farrell out there who can organize the defense is going to help solve that. He's going to notice, hey, what are you doing, Cochran? You're kind of cheating up. This is the line. This is the line. Make the line. And that can solve some of those issues. And who knows, man, watch Schantz come out and completely pull one over. I'm sure OCSC's just game planning right now for another 4-3-3 and watch Schantz come out with something like a 4-2-3-1 or a 3-4-3 and just completely, they've been working on that, and this is when they're going to pull it out. Who knows?
I do have an observation to make. Orange County play and have always played a very physical game, and they played an exceptionally physical game. I think they got away with a couple of potential yellow cards in the first half. It kind of set our players on the back foot a little bit. Maybe I'm stretching here, but I'm thinking, OC is a very rigorous opponent. Is there any overcoming that? Do you know what I mean?
That actually leads to the next question I wanted to present to you guys. Another perfect segue there, is this is something I've been thinking about this week. And this would obviously be Real Monarchs notwithstanding, because last year in the postseason, they were just on a hot streak. But otherwise, here's something that I've noticed, and this is a hypothesis that I've come up with, is it seems like Phoenix Rising, kind of regardless of where that team would be in the table per se, has much more success when they're playing against MLS reserve teams than when they play against independent teams. And that's even what I'm saying. They would do better against a better MLS reserve team than they would against a lesser independent team. Because what I've noticed is, tactically speaking, if you're playing an MLS reserve team, like take Los Dos, for example, Los Dos is never going to not cut their grass, park the bus, etc. Because at the end of the day, Los Dos's goal is to develop players for LA Galaxy MLS side, and their goal is to try to play pretty football, work on tactics. Where on the other hand, if you have an independent team like an Orange County or a Tulsa, for example, those teams, they're not worried about developing players for an MLS side, so they're going to do the Mourinho ball, the not cutting the grass, things like that. And to me, that's where I think that Phoenix Rising's game plan maybe needs to be adjusted based on who the opponent is a little bit more. And that's one thing I don't quite see is I think they kind of go into every game with the same, we want to attack, we want to score goals, and sometimes they're getting counter punched, if you will.
Yeah, look, there's a certain element of that for sure. I don't think every team that is not aligned or unaligned with an MLS side is playing fight ball, as I like to call it. It's not always Arsenal versus Stoke, if you will. You have a look at, as much as it pains me to say, New Mexico plays an okay brand of freaking football. Do you know what I mean? They're not aligned with an MLS side. They do pretty well. I think that there are certain teams, and you're quite correct, that do pull out that tactic, Phil. And Orange County seems to be one of those ones that really likes to shut down the expansive type of football that we like to play, and they do it by being very physical.
I wasn't making a blanket statement or saying every team. I should have clarified that.
I know, but the statement's somewhat true, and Orange County plays that against us, and they always have.
I guess the point more had to do with the MLS2 teams. I don't think you're ever going to see them park the bus because development is their main goal.
Yeah, I think you're right. Obviously we're a lot more successful against teams that are open. When the game is open and it's free flowing and there's all that movement going on, we definitely do better. When teams kind of pack it in and they put, 8 behind the ball, 9 behind the ball, that's where I think we start to see some of the reluctancy, I think, in the attack. I think one of my biggest gripes, something I just kept saying over and over again to my wife as we were watching the match here at home was no one's just shooting. No one's shooting. They're trying to, it felt like we kept trying to play these intricate passes. And honestly, it kind of felt like Chelsea under Sarri, where it was like every goal had to be this perfectly worked out pass sequence that ended in, a tap in for the striker. And sometimes, teams that are packing 8 or 9 behind the ball, they're not just going to, their space gets congested. And what you need is for your midfielder just to go, you know what, screw it. I'm ripping one from deep and just testing the keeper and peppering the goal and seeing what happens. And I think we saw a little bit of that change when Santi Moar came into the game.
Yes.
He came into the game and one of his first contributions was dribbling out a player, creates a little bit of space and rifling off a shot from outside the box.
Now that draws those defenders out, doesn't it? All of a sudden they're like, holy crap, we need to go there.
It wasn't on target, but at least now it puts that mindset in that defender thinking, I have to step to him because I can't give him the shot. And so that then opens up the space for, your Dadashovs and your Flemings and your Solos to kind of go, okay, he stepped, I'm going to go into that space. And Santi Moar to just go, oh, here's the little ball, just here's the little dink pass. And that, I think that frustration of what we're not doing, we're just kind of letting them congest and we're not causing them to kind of break out of that.
Right.
I think that was my biggest thing.
Especially with an 18-year-old keeper.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He's pretty much untested, though. That was the thing during the whole game. All right, man. Okay, I've got something that is going to really, really make Phoenix Rising fans upset. Solomon Asante needs to delegate. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Dude, I agree with you, man. There were so many times where it was like, Solo, dude, you're skillful. You're skillful on the ball. You're a great dribbler. But when there's 3 opposing players around you, look for a pass. There were a handful of times where he just lost the ball.
Yeah. Or he would take that strike on, sort of the very far right edge of the 18-yard box. And I swear to God, he did 3 in a row. I'm like, dude, there was someone to the right who was free, ready for a cross. Just dink it, cross it. Do you know what I mean? Right. Try something different. That was very, very predictable. I was really frustrated. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy, but it's just a little bit delegate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that kind of goes to what I was saying in my article about the penalty kicks, where if you if you look at everything that Solomon Asante is already doing in the run of play, he needs a few things off of his plate to not have to think about. And I think he's just kind of one of these guys that he really wants to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. And you have to remember, this is a guy who's now 2 years ago been all the way to the championship game, lost by 1 goal. Last year, they were, 40 points ahead of the field in the regular season, got upset in the second round of the playoffs. He is the face of the team. He's the captain. He's a veteran.
Right. All of that.
He has all of that. And to me, he's taking all of that and kind of putting that on him. I think that sometimes he is putting the weight of the expectations on his shoulders too much.
And I think that's a character flaw in him, honestly. Like, he's so much talent around him. Like, Dadashov is impressed. Sandy Moore obviously is an impressive player. Then you got Flemings and Lambert who can lash a shot away. It doesn't need to be on his shoulders. It's a team game. This is a captain who is like trying to stop the Titanic hitting the iceberg, but he's not down the engine room. Do you know what I mean? That was a horrible analogy, but my point is, it's like I feel like he's lost some sort of situational awareness there. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, it's on me. You're right. I think you're right, Phil. I'm not arguing with you.
No, I don't think you are. I think we're on the same page, and I think it sounds like Matt is too.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? So we're all kind of in agreement here, right? Like, dude, look at the people that are around him, right? I mean, you got John Baccaro, you have Flemings, you have Dadashov, right? You have Santi Moar if he's either starting or coming off the bench. I mean, this team has attacking talent. And this is something we didn't see, a couple of years ago when he was playing with DDA. He was quick to play that pass in. He was quick to look for that open man. And it maybe he stepped up and he believes that as the captain now, it's ultimately on his shoulders. And I think this is something where maybe Shantz just needs to say, hey, we appreciate everything you do. I can say, we as supporters love you, right? Like, oh, captain, my captain, right? He's the captain.
I've got number 20 on the back of my shirt, and if I had to pick a favorite football player in the whole world, I mean, it would be so hard to do. But if I had to pick, I'd pick Solomon Asante.
Right. So I mean, look, we're not going to be mad at you for passing a ball and getting an assist. No. We're not going to be upset with you for not being selfish. That's just not what's going to happen, because we love you as our captain. And so I think he needs to have that weight kind of released from him in some manner and just say, hey, look, you don't have to do it all. You have 10 other guys on this field, that can get the job done. And sometimes your role is just to help them. Your role. I mean, I remember in a game, I can't remember what game it was, but towards the end, Asante kind of picks up, I believe it was a playoff game. He picks up the ball and he's got open space in front of him, and he really could just dribble all the way in and take a shot. But what does he do instead? He plays a pass and Drogba scores.
And I think we should clarify that we're not trying to say that he's being a selfish player.
No, not at all.
But that he's trying to take too much upon himself. And I think that it's one of those things where if the team loses, he almost sometimes doesn't feel like he feels like it's his fault. Like Solomon Asante lost, regardless of, if some random defender fell down and made 3 own goals, Solomon Asante would still feel like he should have done more to help the team win. That's just how he is.
Right. I think that's just the type of guy he is. He wants to help, and it's not bad.
You have to admire that, don't you?
Right. Right. And that's the thing.
To win. That's great.
And I think you just want to, Shantz just, should say, hey, man, like.
Whoop, there it is. There it is right there, Matt. That's exactly it.
Right. Hey, man.
That's a coaching issue.
Right.
That's a coaching issue right there.
So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We came up 1-1. I don't know, man. We're going back Saturday and kind of just transitioning us here a little bit. I mean, how are you guys feeling going down there?
What I was going to say is to give our predictions for the next match. Did you want to go first, Matt, or did you want to, Aaron?
Well, no, I think I'll start with this. In any normal season, going to Orange County and coming out with a point is a success.
Right.
I mean, if you win at home and you at least draw on the road, you're going to get a playoff spot, in this league. That's just how it is. So any other season, we would have been like, awesome, this is great. We got to draw. But now we're looking at this new kind of setup with all this COVID stuff. And it's like, okay, 2 weeks in a row. Now we're going back into this place that, statistically has been extremely hard for us to get a result there. They're close games, they're physical matches. And it's kind of like, can we play with fire a second time and not get burnt? So with that, what are you guys thinking?
I'm thinking 1-1. It's going to be the same result, unfortunately. I do. Exactly what you were saying, Matt. Phoenix Rising isn't going to change too much. We might be a little bit more fit. We might be a little bit more aware of the pitch surface this time around, provided, it's not like 10 feet tall because they put so much fertilizer on it. But also, I don't see Orange County changing their tactics either. They're going to come out and they're going to bash our boys, and it's going to put them on edge. I think it's going to be 1-1 again, honestly.
I could definitely see that. And here's what I look at with Group B. With Group B, you have Phoenix Rising and Orange County are teams that would have definitely made the playoffs under the regular system where, 10 teams and all that. San Diego Loyal and LA Galaxy 2 and Las Vegas Lights are the other three teams.
Wasn't that a great result? Just as a side, like LA2 beat San Diego Loyal, and here I was thinking they were a dark horse. Nah.
Well, hey, look, I think we got to recognize that Landon Donovan is so loyal to the Galaxy that he's fine with giving up a loss to them.
Well, getting back to what I was where I was going is, so you've got these 5 teams. Las Vegas Lights probably wasn't a playoff team, but so Phoenix and Orange County probably almost certainly were. And then with San Diego and Los Dos, you have to figure at least one, if not both of those teams would have also made the top 10 and at least gotten into the playoff round of the playoffs. So when I look at this group, you have anywhere between 1 and 2 teams that would have normally made the playoffs that won't be. So because of that, like you said, Matt, every point is magnified. It also is important that we play. This is going to be our second road match against Orange County. We only play them once at home, so it's not like we get 2 home matches to make up those. So we definitely can't afford to take a loss. A draw. What I like about a draw is that you keep them from getting the full 3 points, and you're forcing them to drop 2 points at home. But ultimately, this is a must-win game. I don't see Phoenix Rising as a team that is going to play the same team twice in a row and not come out with at least 1 win. That being said, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to say 1-0 Phoenix Rising.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Man, I could echo a lot of that, Phil. Just the importance of this match, with this abbreviated, abridged season where really and truly every game kind of matters. you can drop points in the regular season, at various times, and you can still wind up in the playoffs and in that hunt. But here, this is do or die. And
let's put it into this perspective, because this is something that you'll certainly relate to, Matt. In American football, in the NFL, one of the reasons that every weekend the NFL game is considered so big and so important is because it's not like basketball where there's 80 games or baseball where there's 160 games. It's 16 games in an American football NFL season, and because it's so short, every game counts. Well, what have we done here? We've made a 16-game USL season. So we already have 50-plus years of evidence from the NFL that in a 16-game season, every match is magnified.
Right. So here's, and I'm always pessimistic when it comes to my teams. You guys can attest to that. I thought United was going to crush Chelsea 3-0 in the FA Cup semifinal. But man, I don't know. This is such a hard place to go for us and to get a result, and to think we got to do it 2 weeks in a row in such an important season. And then you look at the stats, if it wasn't for Zach Lubin, we should have lost this game.
You're right.
Zach made 2 saves compared to OCSC's keeper. I don't know his name. He made 1 save. They put 3 shots on target. They put 3 shots on target. We only put 2 on target. You don't have to look at those stats to know that 3 shots on target is better than 2. And so Phoenix has got to change something. And I don't know, man. I feel like I just have a feeling it's going to be a 1-0 loss for Phoenix. That's kind of what my gut says. I think OCSC is going to realize that they have the speed and the quickness. And now with our backup left back and Kyle Bjornathan coming in, someone who didn't see a lot of game time last year, and if we're honest, probably weren't really expecting him to get much game time this year. I hope.
That's amazingly pessimistic from you. Like, usually we score a goal. Whenever you're against one of the Man U's. Didn't you say 3-1? I thought you said 3-1 when you were playing Man U. At least you get something out of it. But no, wow. That's like, all right. So across the 3 of us here, we've gone for a very low scoring game. There's going to be not much offense. It's going to be a really grinding game. And between the 3 of us, I think we've got the spread.
We do, yeah, for sure. Now watch it come out and be like a 6-0 Phoenix Rising fan, and they absolutely
not allowed to say that.
I don't think on that pitch. I just think the quality of the pitch is going to prevent it from being a high-scoring game. But I've got one last question for you, Matt. Do we have a Lagos Kunga sighting on Saturday, or is this just a guy that maybe we're not going to see play as much as we thought we would?
Well, I definitely thought going into the season we'd see him a lot more because, you're looking at the U.S. Open Cup, the whole run of the season. Obviously Dadashov is going to need some rest. I think with this abbreviated space season, and especially on, if this pitch is truly as bad as, players and coaches have led us to believe, that really doesn't fit Lagos Kunga's game. When you have a Lagos Kunga playing up top with, a Santi Moar or a Junior Flemings or a Solomon Asante, you want real quick movement, crisp passing that opens up space and lets him run into that, in a bumpy field full of divots and dead spots that's hard doesn't play too well to that. I would imagine if Dadashov is playing well and he's up for it and he goes the entire game, but we could see him come on and score a brace or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't complain.
I mean, my initial thought is probably not. I think what'll happen is Chris Cortez shows up on match day.
No, we don't want the FBI will be calling us and asking us what we know if we say that.
So no.
Parting shots, guys. What parting shots do you guys have before we wrap up?
I have news across the pitch news desk. Are you ready for this? Why don't I have a theme tune for this yet, Phil? I need one. Like, news across the pitch news desk. I'll get that in after the sound effects are done. It has been announced the San Diego Loyal are erecting a statue outside of their stadium. This is due to amazing influence over the game of soccer in California. Can you guess who it is?
Is it one Landon Donovan?
No, it's David Beckham.
Well, I know where I'm taking the pigeons that live in my backyard and dropping them off at.
Are they really erecting a statue of Donovan?
No, I'm making this shit up, mate.
Oh, dude, I was convinced, man. You had me. Do you guys remember when he was like a big part of San Diego, like 1904? It was going to be like a League One team, and the co-owners are like Demba Ba and Eden Hazard. And
yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. I have some real news that I just learned today as I'm watching the LAFC Portland game. You guys want to hear this?
Yeah.
Villarreal has hired a new coach. Any idea who this new manager is?
Unai Emery. I pushed that.
Unai Emery is now managing Villarreal, which should be interesting considering he won 3 Europa League titles with Sevilla. In Spain. So I'm sure that won't sit too well with that club, but hey, congrats to him.
I could talk forever about that. I'm not going to. All I'm going to say to him is good luck, Unai. Good luck, mate. You've found yourself a team that might fit in your system.
That guy, I think that him and Arsenal just didn't work out for whatever. I think he'll have some success.
Maybe with the transfer window opening up on Monday and being open for 10 weeks, closing in October, maybe we should do a little transfer speculation show in the future.
I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
All right. That sounds like a plan.
Well, guys, it's been great.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been fun. I really enjoyed that one, guys.
All right, lads, from my mate from State 48 and Mr. Wizard over there, I'm Arran. Good night.